Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. I enjoyed seeing the rainbow this morning as I drove over from Davis. It was a beautiful sight. Would you join me in singing "This Is the Day"? Is everybody in? There's the song. I'll sing it through, and then we'll sing a call. I'll sing a line. You sing back to me. Is everybody going to stand up? Come on up and let's wake up a little bit here. This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day the Lord has made. This is the day, that's it, that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day the Lord has made.
Thank you so much. And so let us join our minds and our hearts in prayer in this moment, honoring this day that the Lord has made, honoring the truth that God is always present in all circumstances, in all situations. I drove in today through a horrendous downpour. It was windy. My car was trying to go every which way. The cars beside me were trying to go every which way. And then when I arrived here at the sanctuary, I saw a beautiful rainbow, a picture of a beautiful rainbow, probably the same one. And that's the truth of the presence of God. God is there through the rainbows, the sunshine, the storms, the challenges, the joys, the love, the losses. And so as we pray, I invite everybody to join with me in holding our beloved Warren and his family in prayer. His daughter made her transition yesterday. My days are blending yesterday. So we know that even through this challenge, through this loss, there is an infinite love that is God, that is the source of all comfort, all strength, and all hope. We see Warren and his family enfolded in this love that is God, guided by the wisdom that is God, and we know that we too are guided by this love and wisdom as we move through our days, through the challenges and the joys. And join me now in saying, thank you, God.
Thank you.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Unity of the Valley here in, sunny Vacaville, California, despite all this talk about rain and wind and snow, maybe. We welcome you here, and if you're joining us from wherever you're joining us around the world, at home, we welcome you as well on our streaming service, and we hope to see you in our pews quickly one day. And it's a wonderful crowd here. You're missing out. Shame on you. And today is also the first Sunday of the month, which means it's Birthday Sunday. So if you have a birthday in February, if you come down front, it's painless. We have a gift for you. It's either a song and a prayer, or it's a $100 bill. You have to come down to find out which one it is. So are there any February birthdays? Oh. Yes, we have some brave souls coming down. After I said it's painless, I say it's brave to come down, right? So what we're going to do for our family members here who are Valentine birthdays, we're going to sing to them. George is going to lead us in Happy Birthday.
Happy birthday to you. A happy birthday to you. A happy birthday,
dear friends.
happy birthday to you.
Okay, now one more time, but we're going to do God is Blessing You now. Okay?
God is blessing you now. God is blessing you now. God is blessing you. You are wonderful. God is blessing you now.
And happy birthday, and we see you getting better and better each year. Each and every Sunday we have, I guess I'm jumping ahead of myself. Each and every Sunday we have a young person that comes forward to light the Christ candle. And this Sunday, Sarah is coming forth to help me light the Christ candle. Or I'm going to help her light the Christ candle. Or we're going to help each other. Sarah's done this, I know, once before, and it was with me. So, like, we're all pros at this, aren't we, Sarah? Yeah. Hey, Sarah, come on over. Let's have everybody just take a quick look at you. For the Princess Valentine dress. Come on back with me. And Sarah, what we're going to do, what you just heard, go ahead and take that. Everybody going, that was everybody seeing the Christ light within you. And they have that reaction because they say, you know what? I remember when I was Sarah, full of nothing but light and purity. You want to blow that out? How about that one? Can you blow that one out?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, go ahead and blow that one out. So anyway, we see in you what we used to see readily in ourselves, but sometimes as older people, we forget we still have that light. And you're a great reminder for us that that still exists within each and every one of us. So now we're going to give you a special gift. We're going to give you your own special blessing. So if everybody would repeat with me for Sarah. Words are up on the board. Sarah, you are a beautiful child of God, perfect in every way. You are loved unconditionally, just the way you are. Now we're going to say those same words to ourselves. I am a beautiful child of God, perfect in every way. I am loved unconditionally, just the way I am. And now we all get to join together to sing Sarah a song. We're going to sing you a song, okay?
I'm a beautiful child of God, a wondrous spirit of love and peace. My light will shine forever. I'm a beautiful child of God. You're a beautiful child of God, a wondrous spirit of love and peace. Your light will shine forever. You're a beautiful child of God. We are beautiful children of God. We are wondrous spirits of love and peace. Our light will shine forever. We are beautiful children of God.
Thank you, Sarah. You did that beautifully. Let's give her a round of applause. And you can go ahead and walk off that way. You can go with Genevieve. You want to go with Genevieve? It's so much fun up here, she didn't want to leave. So welcome again. We have Mr. George Haver joining us from Davis, and he brought a rainbow with him this morning. We thank you. And we have our, give him a round of applause. And our senior minister, Reverend Dalia Adams, going to be giving a beautiful message today. So thank you all for coming. And please make sure you allot some time after the service to join us in the social hall for some light refreshments. And also after the service, each and every week, our prayer chaplains are available to you. Our prayer chaplains are here to offer you prayer. You can see them. They have these beautiful white stoles. Please make use of it. It's all in confidence. If you have something weighing heavy on your heart or something you would like to celebrate, please see one of our chaplains. Thank you, chaplains. All right, we are welcoming new members to our church next Sunday. There are 7 of them, which is pretty cool, right? 7 of them that are coming. So please join us because we're going to be doing a special induction ceremony followed by an angel walk. So go out in the garage, dust off your wings, bring them in for the angel walk. There are several volunteer opportunities available that you can contact our office if you're interested, usher greeter, flower committee, and the hospitality team. The commitment is usually just 1 Sunday per month, so it's not a big commitment. If you're interested in this, please contact our office. And the Wednesday evening service is back, Wednesdays at 6 p.m., right here in the sanctuary for a meditative, contemplative prayer service. It's wonderful. And also on Wednesday, the prayer group invites you to join via Zoom at 1:30, a prayer group. The group's limited to 10. And again, you have to email the office to reserve your spot. And then if you join me together, we had this wonderful start to our service today. We had, it seems like there are some Sundays where it seems like nothing's coordinated, and then all of a sudden it just comes together as 10 a.m. approaches us. And that was the Sunday today, right down to the sun coming through the stained glass window. So if you join me with our statement of faith, together, there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the good.
This song, How Can I Keep From Singing? I first heard it this fall singing with the choir that I've been singing with for years in Davis. Our director did a lovely arrangement of it. And then I heard it again recently. I listen to a lot of music on YouTube, and I discovered a singer named Audrey Assad, Assad. And she's done so many beautiful versions of hymns. And I recommend you, if you happen to go YouTubing, Audrey Assad. And I hope you enjoy this lovely hymn. My life flows on in endless song above her lamentation. I hear the sweet, the far-off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It finds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though my joys and comforts die? The Lord my God, He liveth. What though the darkness gather round? Songs in the night He giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that refuge clinging, since God is Lord of heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? I lift mine eyes, the clouds grow thin, I see the blue above it, and day by day this pathway smooths, since first I learned to love it. The peace of God makes fresh my heart, a fountain ever springing. All things are mine since I am His. How can I keep from singing? No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that refuge clinging. Since God is Lord of heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? Since God is Lord of heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing?
Thank you. It was really beautiful. Thank you, thank you. So in 2023, we're coming back to the question over and over again, how shall we live? Last year we talked about the mystery of what God is, what we are. And if we know that we are one with God, if we know that we are children of God, how do we live? And I've said before, in the morning when you look in the mirror and you see a child of God before you, how does that child of God live through the day? And we've talked this year about no matter how we choose to live as children of God, one of the most important things is that we come back over and over and over again to that consciousness, to that awareness of our oneness with God, of God's presence in all things. And so today I want to talk about living the truth. That is so central to what unity teaches. We have 5 principles that are often promoted as our core teachings, and the last one is that we live the truth that we know. In our new member class over the weekend, that is one of the things we focused on how do we live this truth and what are the truths that we have, that we know, that unity teaches us. And the most important thing, more important even than our 5 principles, is that the truth that we know, the truth that we are called upon to live, is a truth that we find within ourselves. When I was growing up in a different religion, in the Catholic religion, I was given points to memorize, and these were the truth, and I was to live that truth. I was to adhere to it, defend it, never stray from it. And my teachers, the nuns and the priests and the Pope, all knew exactly what this truth was, and all I had to do was fall in line. Not a bad thing. They had some very good teachings, but unity ups the ante. Unity says that, yes, we have truths that we teach. We have principles that we embrace, but ultimately, each and every one of us is called upon to go within and to know the truth. If I simply memorize the 5 principles but don't know the truth that they convey, if I don't know that in my heart, if when I become still, that's not the truth that comes up for me, then the challenge is to come to know that truth that is yours, the truth that you find in the silence, the truth that you know when you hear that still, small voice. And what it comes down to is we find truth first and foremost in ourselves, in the I am that we are. You know those moments where you know that you are so much more than the story you're living in this lifetime? When you know that there is something within you that is far greater than any challenge, any joy, any experience you might be having, that there is something within that is deeper and more profound and a more basic truth than anything that might be happening. Not denying your life as it's unfolding, but that there is something deeper. And in that experience of God, if you will, that experience of the divine within, in that experience of knowing the I am that is the truth of our own being, we discover a truth that we live by, a truth that we live from. We have to express that truth we find within us, or life is out of sync. There's a part of us that starts withering. There's a sense of becoming smaller. That truth within us is great. It's as massive as the universe because it is an experience of the divine. We find truth in the teachings. That's why one of the reasons we gather on Sundays, to hear the truth, to hear songs about the truth. That's why we have classes, why we read books, why we read the Bible, or maybe the Hindu scriptures. We find truth in the teachings. And it's not a matter of memorizing, but it's a matter of opening to the teachings, taking them in, going within, and allowing those teachings to resonate with you. If I teach up here that there is one power and one presence, and you go home and light candles to keep the devil away, you know, there's a disjointed experience. So what we're talking about is when we do experience the teachings, to the extent that it feels true to you to take them in and check them out according to your own experience of truth, to make them your own, if you will. And then finally, we experience the truth in and through each other, in and through our families, our friends, our community. One of the people in the new member class yesterday said, you know, these are all fine and good, these principles we're studying, but then I have to take them out into my community and my life and check them out. Do they work? Are they real? Do they make sense? And so it is in our connection with each other, in our love for each other, and the way that works itself out that we come to know the truth. And we'll be coming back to this idea of living the truth over and over in different ways. I just wanted to bring the ideas out today. Charles Fillmore, our co-founder, wrote that truth abides in fullness at the core of man's being. So that's what he's saying. Within us is where we find the deepest truth. As his consciousness expands, he touches this everlasting truth. So it's a journey, you know, where our consciousness opens up. We become uplifted. We know these truths from the depths of our heart and our soul. And then we get stuck in traffic. or that person at the other end of the telephone, the customer service person who just doesn't get what's going on, you know? So life happens, and then our consciousness kind of sinks back down into the muck. And then it's ours to uplift our consciousness again and to know the truth, to abide in the fullness of our being. But so many others have written the same idea. Charles Fillmore was not alone. I've never heard of this person before, but I found his quote online and I liked it, so I'm sharing it. He wrote that find that core of truth within yourself, that truth that knows and trusts that all is well. You know that place you can come to sometimes in even the deepest pain or the greatest fear, that we can find that core of truth within us that carries us through, allows us to be more than whatever this challenge is we're facing. Eckhart Tolle, a very well-known and well-liked spiritual teacher, wrote that the ultimate truth of who you are is not, I am this or I am that, but I am. Does everyone feel the difference between that? If I say, I'm a teacher, or I'm a waitress, or I'm a minister, that might be true, but if I don't limit it with that role, then I go to a deeper sense of who and what I am. When I was in college, my first year, I was one of 35 women admitted into a men's college as an experimental program. So oftentimes I would sit in the freshman classes that had a couple hundred people, and I'd be the only woman, you know. And I was shy, so it was kind of a strange experience for me that first year. And I was in a philosophy class, and I was sitting toward the back, and below me were all the other students. And the professor wanted us to spend the entire class answering a question, to writing an essay, answering the question, who are you? And at first there was this loud silence in the room and no one was writing. And after a while, you know, people started writing, and I'm looking down at all these guys and they're scribbling away, and I don't know how to answer this. Every idea that came to mind didn't work. Every idea that I thought of, I'm there, yeah, but that's not all of me. That's me sometimes, and maybe sometimes not even for very long. So I sat there in agony, and finally, for my essay that most people had pages and pages for, I wrote, I am Dalia, period, and I handed it in. Got an A+. It was the top paper in the room, but this philosophy professor was trying to convey the idea that unity teaches we are so much more than the roles that we take on. We are so much more than the story we are living. There is something about us that is deeper and greater. Looking back on that essay, if I had it to do over, I would have written, I am, period. But I was like 18 or 19 years old, so we have to forgive me for not getting that part of it. But that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to convey that I am so much more than my experiences, so much more than my relationships, so much more than the work I'm doing, the classes I'm taking. So living the truth, one aspect of that is that ability to go within, to raise our consciousness, to know who we are, and to live from that. It's so easy to grow up and be a child and then go on and get an education and be a student and then be an employee, maybe a teacher, maybe a waitress, maybe a truck driver, maybe a Lyft driver, maybe a DoorDash delivery person, maybe a musician, maybe, and then stop at that level and not know ourselves more deeply. So what unity encourages us to do is always go within, to listen to that still small voice, and to remember that the truth of who I am is the I am that I am, right? I had a very close friend, and I've talked about him before. When I lived in the Virgin Islands, his name was John Bell, and I rented a room to him for a while, and then when I had to move, we ended up roommates for several years. And he was high energy, high joy, deeply committed to the children he worked with. He was a social worker. And at one point, this was years after I hadn't seen him, I no longer lived in the Virgin Islands. I'd completed graduate school in Ohio, moved down to Florida, and we reconnected. And what happened is John Bell went down to Guatemala for a conference/vacation. And while there, he met somebody. They became friends. That friend was going to the hospital to visit a boy named Alex. And John went with him and discovered that the medical care, the social care, the resources available in Guatemala were very different from what you would find in the United States. Alex was about 14 years old when he was shot in the back. He was in the wrong place and at the wrong time, and two people were shooting each other, and Alex was wounded and paralyzed. So in Guatemala, that meant that Alex was going to live the rest of his life, probably relatively short life, in the hospital. There was limited medical care. The surgeries he needed were not available. There were no wheelchairs, there were no prosthetics, there were almost no resources, so his family would visit him periodically. The family lived in a village that was quite a ways away, so they couldn't be there all the time. So Alex was in that condition when John met him. And I had always known John to be someone who lived from his own truth. You know, as opposed to just following directions, he always created something better, something more innovative, interesting, and he saw Alex and he knew in that moment that he was going to do something. He didn't know what, but he was going to do something. He quit his job. He released volunteer opportunities he was working with in Washington, D.C., and spent the next 2 or 3 years flying Alex back and forth to Washington, getting donations from doctors and other people and foundations and from hospitals. And Alex ultimately spent a little over a year with John in Washington, D.C., having these surgeries, getting treatment, recovering. He was still paralyzed from the waist down, but at this point, able to use his wheelchair, was mobile, able to participate in activities. John got him back into school, so he was continuing his education. The children in the hospitals in Guatemala got no schooling. So he did this. This is an example of living from that truth that is within us. me. He didn't sit down and try to figure out how is this going to work. Oh, this is impossible. There's no way. He just knew that he was being called to do something. So the next time I saw John was when he called me and said, Alex and I are going back to Guatemala, but we're stopping in Florida. I hear that my microphone went away. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, they were stopping in Florida, and could they stay with me for a few days? And I said yes. My son was maybe a year or two older than Alex at the time, and Alex was 18. And we went to Disney World, and we went to Epcot Center. Now imagine this boy that grew up in a small village in Guatemala, never really spent time in the city, except in the hospital in the city where he didn't get to see the city. And then he goes to Washington, D.C., spends most of his time in hospitals, and then he goes to Disney World. And I still remember the look of awe. You know how children can have a look of awe? I have never seen awe so amazing. My son spoke Spanish, so he and Alex got along really well and had conversations. This is what living from our truth can bring about, can create. Oftentimes, I've heard people talking that they have a job that they've hated for the last 20 years, or that maybe they're in a relationship and they feel bound to it even though every part of them screams that they need to be living a different way. When we live from our truth, we find the paths that allow us to shine, to thrive, to be who we're meant to be. And again, there's so much more to be said about this, and we'll come back to it, but we must live from that truth that lives within us. Another example, I've also shared this with you before. I found this on the internet. Ryan, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I've tried learning it, but I don't. So Ryan was 6 years old. He was a Canadian boy in school, and his teacher was encouraging the children to do some sort of project that would help others. At the same time, they were studying geography or some subject, and the teacher told them about how the children in Uganda don't have clean water to drink, so that many of them never went to school because instead of going to school, they would help their families by walking several miles to get buckets of water out of the community well. And Ryan was horrified that these children were not going to school the way he was. So he went to his teacher and said, "How much does a well cost?" And she said, "I don't know, maybe $70. So Ryan set out to raise $70, which he did. He did chores and he sold lemonade and, he asked people for money and he raised $70. And then he asked, where do I take the $70 so the children in Uganda can have a well? And they took him to the consulate, and he gave the money to whoever it was he was meeting with. And the person said, yes, this could buy us the mechanism, the parts for a well. But a well has to be dug. Someone has to find where to dig it. There are people who work and have to be paid to do the actual digging. And that all the parts involved in. And Ryan said, "Oh, how much does that cost?" And the man said somewhere about $2,000, but in some places it could be as much as $8,000. So Ryan set out to raise $8,000, which he did, and the money was sent to a school in Uganda, and they built a well, and the children now started coming to school because they could bring water home from school instead of having to make this journey. And Ryan continued. He raised money for more wells to be installed and created. And at one point, he went to that first school in Uganda to see the well. And the children just treated him like this hero. They lined up and they were cheering for him, and they showed him the well. And then Ryan saw that all the children just sat on a dirt floor during their classes. So, and some of them had to have their classes outside because there were not enough classrooms. So Ryan went to the principal and said, how much would it cost to put floors and desks in the school? And I forget the amount, it was like $20,000 or whatever. So Ryan just said, okay. He went home, he raised the money, and it was sent to the school, and on and on. The picture of the older person is Ryan in his early 20s. That became his life calling. He ran Ryan's Well Foundation, and I believe at that point that this was written, which was, 5-10 years ago. They had brought good drinking water through wells to 16 countries in Africa. Another example of living from our truth. I don't know if he ever heard of unity, but isn't that our core teaching? There is no challenge greater than the truth of who we are, right? And it didn't even occur to Ryan that these money challenges were greater than who he was. All he knew was he had to provide the wells and the water for the children in Africa. That's what we teach, isn't it? That's one of our teachings. And that's one of the things that we can come to know when we find that truth within us, right? Think back at a time when you felt like, no way will I ever heal from this. No way will I ever get past this. No way will I ever be able to do this. And then you find that truth within. And you discover, yes, there is a way, and I can, and I do. And it might look different from what you originally thought it would be. The pathway might be very different from the pathway you thought you would take. But that which we grab onto, that truth that we hold on to, that truth that lives within us, when we allow that to be expressed, when we go with it, when we let it guide us, we do amazing things. And so it's not always just a process of intuitive inner knowing. I mean, that's wonderful, it's one way, but sometimes it's more mundane. Sometimes it's a matter of learning the teachings, reading, going deeper into the teachings, and then discovering that they are the truth within you. One of our teachings in unity is that we are one with God. And people understand that in different ways, and some people in unity and new thought experience that as I am God, right? Not everybody, some experience it, I am God, but I am an expression of God. They qualify it, and we're all a little different in how we hold that. I remember many years back when I was brand new to Unity seeing a movie, and Don't remember the actress anymore, but she was on the beach, and the story was about her spiritual journey, and at the very end, she was on a beach twirling with her arms up saying, "I am God." And I was horrified. I mean, she's being blasphemous was what was going through my mind. But today I know that is true, and I know it's true differently for different people, and that's okay. But she was okay doing that. That was the truth as she understood it. So unity teachings, there's one God and many paths to God. That's something that we teach. And then there's 5 principles. When I was at my first Unity church, and it was actually, the name of the church was First Unity Church. We had a wonderful minister, Alan Robotham, and he was the minister. His wife, Catherine Robotham, was also a minister, but she was a retired minister. She taught some classes and she was around, and so unofficially she was like an associate minister for us. Alan and Catherine met in seminary when they went to study to be Unity ministers. Right after they graduated and were ordained, they got married. They served at a couple churches, and ultimately came down to Florida to First Unity Church. When Catherine Robotham was in school, one of her teachers was Connie Fillmore, a granddaughter of Myrtle and Charles. Connie Fillmore gave her class an assignment to summarize Unity's teachings. Catherine Robotham, the minister that I first learned Unity from, wrote 5 principles. And these are the principles that are broadcast on many websites at unity.org, and we have a poster. Connie Fillmore has been given credit for those because she made them known. And she had, I guess, the name recognition to publicize them. And at that time, Unity did not really hold with copyrights or giving people credit. Truth was truth, and it belonged to everyone. So Catherine Robotham is the one that wrote the principles that we use. Oh, I skipped this. It's an example of a truth that Unity teaches, and it was probably the first one that Myrtle spoke. I am a child of God, and I do not inherit illness. Again, many levels of understanding this one. And then here are the Unity's truth principles. The first one is there is one presence and one power, God the good. Yesterday in our new member class, I had them in 2 groups, and each group wrote a version of the 5 principles. What I gave them to work with is 4 or 5 examples from different churches, different organizations. One of the examples I passed out to them was Wikipedia's version of our 5 principles. And they wrote their own, and they're very beautiful, and the condition was that they would agree upon them. So this is the version that I learned. This is the version I learned from Catherine. There is one presence and one power, God the good. How do we live that truth? What does that mean? That means in those tough moments. In those tough moments, we remember that God is one. There is one God. There is not many different gods in competition. There is one God, and God is good, and God is one presence, one power. And I've done this before where I don't say, well, here I am, and here God is. If there is one presence, then I am the presence that is God, right? If we really believe that there is one presence, one power, we cannot be separate from that, because it would be then two presences and two powers, or 50 presences and 50 powers, right? So we say this every single Sunday. What is ours to do is take those words inside of us, contemplate them, listen for the wisdom of the still small voice within you. How does your inner wisdom help you make sense of this? Because on the level of rational, logical mind, it doesn't work, does it? But when I sit in the silence, when I experience the presence that is God, it's absolutely true. When I stay at the level of what my logical mind can make sense of, I get stuck. So it's this process of, no matter what the teaching is, to take it within and see how divine wisdom helps you understand it. And to do it over and over and over again, because our consciousness, our understanding grows as we grow in our spiritual path. The second principle is, we are one with God and we are good. Again, many different ways of writing it and expressing it, because people have different ways of understanding it. What does that mean with you, to be one with God? And can you truly claim and know that you are good? You know those moments when that self-critic is running rampant? Can you say, no, I'm one with God and I'm good? Just like Myrtle said, I am a child of God and I don't inherit illness, despite all this evidence, right? Despite all this evidence that I've made mistakes, I've said things wrong, I've goofed things up, and people are mad at me and it's all my fault. We need to do what Myrtle did, silence that inner critic and know that we are one with God and we are good. Because when we know that we are one with God and we are good, we act differently. We live our lives differently. We have more joy. We have more peace. Because that inner critic gives us no joy and no peace to live with. So the next one, our thoughts have creative power. And there's all kinds of evidence for that. The way I learned it was as the law of mind action. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. That which we will focus on comes into our lives. Again, we'll come back to all of these in greater depth. But there's a lot to that one, too. The fourth principle that unity teaches is prayer aligns us with God. In fact, Charles Fillmore says that any activity that raises our awareness to the presence of God is prayer. And then the last principle is we must act on these truths, which is today's talk. We must live the truth. So we know truth from our inner knowing, from that divine revelation. We know truth through the principles we learn, the teachings we read. And finally, we know truth through each other. You know, to just know these in our heads and try to live them without testing them out in our relationships, in our community, in our family, to find how they are true in the oneness of our community, that takes us deeper. That takes us to a much more profound understanding. And it allows us to express the love that is another truth. Jesus taught us that our greatest commandment is love. In our scriptures, we read over and over that God is love. So as we live this truth, we discover and know God in another way, allowing that knowing to go even deeper. That's why we're here. That's the beauty of being able to come back together after our pandemic, right? But it's also true for the people watching online. We hold them in our hearts. And we know that the love that we feel is shared with them as well. And that the truth that we discover, we see them discovering also. So we live the truth that we know. And so it is.
A song from Daniel Nemad that I know a lot of you know of, and if he's been here, I enjoyed his concert this fall. And if you know this one, sing along with me. I'm raising the veil between you and me. No separation, no distance at all. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil between me and my God. No separation, no distance at all. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil. I want to know you. Oh God, I'm raising the veil. I want to feel you. Oh God, I'm raising the veil. I want to see you. Oh God, I'm raising the veil. I want to love you. Oh God, I'm raising the veil between you and me. No separation, no distance importance at all. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil.
And so as we go deeper into our time of meditation, let us envision raising that veil and experiencing the truth of God in our hearts, the truth of our oneness with God. And so I invite you to sit comfortably, release any tensions or worries. Allow your breath to come easily and effortlessly. And noticing how your breath feels. Letting your attention rest gently on your breath. Noticing how each breath might be bringing you a little bit deeper within. Deep into your heart space, that sacred space within you where you know the presence that is God. As your heart opens to that presence, as you feel that presence within, allow yourself to become even more still. And then notice what it is like to be one with the presence that is God. And to hold that knowing for a little while in the silence. There is one presence and one power in my life and in the universe. God, the good. I am one with the presence of God within me. I am one with the presence of God within me. Holding that affirmation in your heart, allow yourself to gently and easily bring your attention back to this room, back to this time and place. Feel the ground beneath your feet. Allow yourself to be fully present. If you haven't done so, please open your eyes. And then I invite you to look around and see that there is a light that fills this room, a light that shines on each and every face. Look around and see that amazing Christ light shining on each person's face, and know that same light is shining as you in this very moment. And we are grateful for this light. And we say thank you, God. Amen.
God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil.
Well, it's not only the children of Uganda that depend on the Ryans of the world for a more fulfilling life. Here at Unity, we also depend on the Ryans and Rihannas of the world to give generously so that you don't have to sit on a dirt floor to listen to this wonderful music and wonderful message. So there are many ways in which you can give. You can do it by texting. Just text the word give to this number. It's easy. You can go to our website, and there's a nice big button there that says donate, and you can donate. You can also set up an automatic payment program with our office. Or you can do what many of us really enjoy doing because we get to actually perform the act of giving. Our ushers are coming down with their COVID-safe baskets so that we can take out our tithes and offerings, hold it in our hand, and together say this blessing. Together with me, God's love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am and have, all that I give and receive. I am grateful.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where his feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
So if you join with me together, knowing that all of our needs are met even before we ask them, together, the inexhaustible resource of Spirit is equal to every demand. There is no reality in lack. Abundance is here and now manifests. Let's all join George in singing the peace song. If you'd stand as you're able.
Together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. We are one holy family. We celebrate our oneness and honor our diversity. And join me in our closing affirmation. And I invite you to hold this affirmation in your minds and in your hearts throughout the week. So together, today I live the truth within me. Again, like we mean it. Today I live the truth within me. Okay, and now take time to greet each other, to dance, to bow, to look into each other's eyes, to hug if you need. All of the above.